We don't have a...
All right. All right. And we don't have a quorum?
If Jake will come.
If we can pull them away.
Hello. We'll just wait for Councilmember Garn. Okay.
I apologize.
Yes. Everybody's blaming you. All right. I'd like to call the Architectural Review Committee to order. Okay. First, we'll turn the time over to Lyle.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So currently we've got a couple projects before you tonight. I forget with at least a couple new members from the council if we've met yet as a Architectural Review Committee. So just by way of a brief introduction, the Kaysville City Council does act as the Architectural Review Committee for the business park. So you're essentially in charge of their covenants and HOA on top of everything else we deal with as a city and our typical ordinances. We've got the first up on the agenda is to look at some modifications to the site over at Camping World. And so here's the location right off the far north end of 900 West. Hard to miss, our RV sales and camper trailers. We love having them in town. They've been there for about 20 years. And historically when the property was developed, and you can see kind of these old maps, my pointer works very well. It was one of the very first things to come into the business park. So at the time, there was no Sportsplex Drive, there was no Brent Meadow Drive, thank you, Andy. And so we required from the city that they provide a clear second access where the arrow and pointer is. As the park's developed, we now have additional roads, additional access, and that's no longer necessary for our emergency services. And in addition to that, Camping World is hoping to have more space for their product storage area and inventory, more camping trailers essentially. And so they're proposing to remove some of this landscaped island and put in more asphalt, and that would allow them to reconfigure how they store their product. You can see the site plan here, the area that's being affected. And it does remove a little bit of landscaping also along the west side, keeping and maintaining a 10-foot buffer on the west. Overall, it still meets all the minimum requirements for the amount of landscaping needed within the business park. Again, as under review of staff, we think it's okay to get rid of that clear access point to it. One note of clarification in the report, so I went out and drove it, and Layton City's recently done a curb gutter sidewalk project along Phillip Street, which I'm going to switch point. And so it's got a curb cut there where it was previously and access to it. That may or may not remain. It's got a locked gate there now, which has pretty much always stayed locked, and I believe the intent is ultimately actually to fence that off, so it wouldn't have any access of any variety. So, but again, the way we've anticipated that they'd be storing the product doesn't affect our decision as staff on how the access is used, and it's a necessity. And so they do have the general manager here this evening if you'd have any questions of him. But otherwise, staff, having reviewed it, is recommending approval of the proposed modifications.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't have any.
Okay. No? Any questions? Okay. All right. I believe I'd entertain a motion then.
Yeah, I will. I'll move that we approve the modification to the Camping World site modification plan.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Page, seconded by Councilmember Barber. Councilmember Page.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes 4-0. James Hansen is out of town. All right, consideration of power sports dealership and ancillary uses.
So the second one, I'll speak a lot less and let the Mr. Egerts share a little bit more what they're up to. But just right next door, almost kitty corner from Camping World, KSG has been in business there for some time and has recently completed their business there on that site. So it's currently vacant, and you can see the property up on the map and in your report at 1121 West Flint Meadow. And so as it's on the market, we've got a user that's interested in utilizing the site for power sports. And at least on its face, it's certainly something that could be approved and allowed within the business park. I've seen in the reports passed along, a lot of it just comes down to, and this will be the first time that he's been present as well, so he and I have not looked over the same map, but understanding how they're doing it and then having the approval from the committee that that is in fact in harmony with what takes place here in the park and that it's appropriate. So I'll turn the time back over to you, Madam Chair, to invite him up, Mr. Egerts, and let him give the details and be happy to answer any questions on my end if there are any.
Sure. Mr. Egerts. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Any questions? Do you want to present anything
Yeah,
specifically?
So we're a well-established Utah-based company that primarily sells power sports, so Polaris razors and motorcycles and the like. And we have locations in Salt Lake, Draper, and St. George. We're looking to move one of our facilities up here to Kaysville, and this property recently came on the market and fits what we like. So we're contemplating acquiring this, but we just want to make sure that Kaysville would be welcome to a business such as ours, and wanted to go through all the details of that with you. So the building and everything, it seems like it's zoned, it's a permitted use in the area for what we're looking to do. But one of our concerns is a key component of our business is the ability to display machines outdoors. So during business hours, we would like to utilize part of the parking strip areas to display razors and similar items, and then around the building be able to display motorcycles and similar machines like that. So that was one thing I wanted to make sure would be allowed in this area. And then also signage, I wanted to find out if we could go to the view of the building. So this is the view from kind of the northeast, and I wanted to find out if the city would be amenable to us placing signage along the top of the building. And the only other change we would make is perhaps painting the building a different color. But other than that, there would be no change. Years down the road, we'd probably add a fenced area in the back of the building, but immediately we wouldn't be looking to do that. So.
All right. Thanks. Yes, please. Councilmember Gurn.
So now I have a question.
Okay.
So I'd read through the materials and I was comfortable with what was there, but what color would you paint the building?
It'd probably be a gray color, a darker gray color. The brands that we work with have color schemes that they prefer, but they're almost always neutral colors, nothing bright, outstanding like that. So it'd be a darker gray kind of carbon color with bright a yellow or red signage on there. So,
thank you.
yep.
I have a question.
Councilmember Barber.
This may be more for Lyle about the taking out the park strip there to put their vehicles up there. Is there anything in the zoning that prevents that?
Yeah, so the covenants of the business park get pretty specific. The closer a building is to the street, the more of a landscape buffer there has to be between the parking area and the street itself. So we haven't done a thorough site plan review on this. Knowing all the details, I would speculate that the landscaping is probably is at its minimum along the front there. We could review that more thoroughly. So I don't know, perhaps a clarifying question for you, Cameron, would be, would you utilize the existing asphalt, or is the anticipation that it would expand upward? I believe that was part of the report as a question mark. And
Yeah, we're not really asking to remove any of the landscaping currently, just the ability to maybe even like put some additional features on there, like a boulder or something like that, and be able to almost park a machine on top of the boulder, if that makes sense. You know, we'd have 2 or 3 in each parking strip area. We wouldn't be removing any of the landscaping.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
I
It would
think
we would
boulders are
pull them out.
landscaping.
We'd pull them out during opening and pull them back in during close. So it'd just be out during business hours.
Okay.
So in that case, I don't know that a an adjustment would be needed?
Yeah, and so the question then becomes, it's subjective to you as the committee. The covenants state that they like, it's got to be a landscaped area. Landscaping can consist of many things, but it does say primarily with trees. And so, if they're scattered and clustered in different areas, and again, this is a good conversation for us where it helps my understanding of what he's thinking. Would that, in your opinion, meet the intent of the covenants and be appropriate for the park?
All right. Any feelings about that?
No.
Councilmember Page?
I think it's fine.
Okay. Anybody who doesn't like it? Okay, awesome.
I have another question.
Councilmember Barber?
Just, I'm assuming that part of your business is the test driving the vehicles around?
Pretty minor, but yes.
Okay, just for safety, that was my main question.
Yeah, so the off-road machines don't leave the property.
Okay.
They wouldn't be allowed on the street, and any on-road machine would be licensed, and the consumer, the customer, would have a license to drive the machine, and it would have a dealer plate just like an auto dealer would. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
I don't think there's any motion or anything.
Nope.
No motion.
That's-
It was just
no,
more.
that's just feedback from
All
the
right.
council members.
So does
So,
this seem like a business you would support in your community?
yes.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Hughes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. I don't see anything else on our agenda. So I will close the Architectural Review Committee meeting. Or I need a motion for that, I would imagine.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.